prick of a finger. Chapter 6. Once all the dragons had been slain, the soldiers rested. It was the first battle the three high kingdoms fought together. Brave souls died that day in countless numbers. It was later discovered that Tia saved Matilda's life but at her own expense. The king of Avani also perished in the battle while protecting a small child. In the end, Turner was the only soldier who wasn't worn out from exhaustion. As soon as the threat disappeared, he raced inside the castle to find Paige. Tori had since left her mother's side and went to Paige's. The little girl had dragged and awkwardly lifted the princess onto the bed. After witnessing her mother's death, Tori wanted it to appear as if Paige was sleeping soundly of her own accord. She refused to leave Paige on the ground because it reminded her of the dead bodies below. Tori looked up at Turner as he came in. Tears stained her cheeks, but she managed to say, "I didn't remember how to wake her, so I made her cozy." Turner gazed at Paige, whose hair was beautifully sprawled out on the pillow with her hands delicately resting on her stomach. The child even placed Paige's tiara on her head since it fell off when the princess pricked her finger. The prince stepped forward, putting his chipped and blood-stained sword down. Then he knelt on one knee by Paige's head. He took one of her hands, squeezing it. It saddened him as it felt ice cold. With his left hand, he carefully brushed her bangs to one side to clearly see her face. He noticed her subtle breaths and relaxed. She was asleep, not dead. He continued to brush her hair as he said, "Not all hope is lost if you wake up. Avani will still have an heir, and I promise to stay by your side for eternity." Gradually he leaned in and kissed her softly on the lips. When nothing seemed to happen, he rested his head on the bed, still holding her hand in his. He wondered if she didn't return his affection or if his feelings were only the beginnings of love. But then, he felt her hand twitch. His head shot up and her violet eyes fluttered open. They met his with a pleased smirk. "That was pretty sappy, pig head," she stated, a dry voice. "What happened to you?" "I slayed some dragons, which turned me into a prince from those absurd books," he said, meaning for it to be a joke, but his tone was solemn. Paige sat up to study the bruises on his skin and noted the scent of death and smoke. This was not a victory even if they had beaten the curse. She wanted to ask who had fallen in battle, but she decided against it. "You mean to tell me that you fought off dragons and didn't bother waking me?" she said, crossing her arms. Tori answered for him, "Yes, and I even got the door open so he could kiss you." "Hey, it isn't like that." "She was safe up here," Turner said to Tori. The girl didn't wait to counterattack. What would have happened if dragons got her? She would have no way to defend herself. "Gosh darn it, when did kids get so smart?" he asked. Paige laughed. "Tori has always been ahead of her time. She gets it from our mother and father." Upon the mention of her adoptive parents, Paige noticed the pain that washed over Tori and Turner. "Don't tell me they're dead." Zalilia died fighting fashion. Then to name a few others, Tia, Beth, and your father, the king. Tears left Paige's eyes. "I never got to speak with him. And the whole time I slept he fought for me. And Beth, Tia, Zalilia, they gave up their lives to raise me, and this is how they are repaid?" Zalilia was my mother. Tori ran to the bed, jumping on it, so she could hug Paige. The little girl had been waiting for someone she could mourn with. Turner embraced the girls too. They sat there for a long time, comforting each other. Even if Paige was under a curse, the pain of knowing that she couldn't fight with her family and friends burdened her heart. After a couple of months, everything was resolved. Houses were rebuilt along with the missing walls of the castle. Honors were presented to those who lived to tell the tale. Paige, whom people called Sleeping Beauty, married Turner soon after the kingdom was restored. The wedding brought happiness and hope back into the citizens' lives. Every kingdom was invited to join the festivities. As for Peter, he was honored and praised by all. They gave him a new title, one he would go by to wash away his memories and pain. However, he felt he spent too much time playing house and could not do it without his wife. He blamed himself for not checking in on the Dragon Lord and swore he would track down whoever had gained the power. Because of the dangerous journey ahead, he thought Tori would be better off with Paige. He went back to the great pixie tree where an old friend awaited him. His dreams of living a happy life with Zalilia had vanished, so he vanished as well. Tori stayed at the castle with Paige and Turner. She was treated like a princess when Paige became the next queen. The sisters comforted one another when they thought of Zalilia and the lives lost that day. They did not understand Peter's departure, but Paige's mother offered them the parental love they needed. She also showed them a piece of the Stone of Light, which Peter had given to Avani in his younger years. The girls recognized it immediately as the same type of stone Peter had on his staff. Paige's mother also told stories about the late king and how much he loved Paige. Every day, he would stare at the sky and smile because he knew you were safe, her mother told her. He even had a motto, "True love always endures." That's what he said to me when people objected our marriage. He said it again after fashion cursed our family. He believed love in its truest form would conquer all. He never doubted it. And neither did Paige.